The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
It's time for a change, and it's going down right here, right now. Welcome to Melanated Politics. I'm Mr. Clark, Eric Clark. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is a return of Mr. Harper, David Harper, my day one friend and co-host. Welcome back, Mr. Harper.
It's great to be back. Great to be back. Yes, let's do this. It's been too long. Hi, everybody. Miss y'all. How you doing, Poet? It's miss you too. All right.
Now, before we get off into it, check this out. We have something we would love to show everyone. It's good to see you. It's good to be back. I understand you've been in and out of town. You've been having a lot of things you've been involved in. It's good to see you, my brother.
It's good to see you too. Can I say this real quick before we get started?
Please.
Brother, I missed you. I miss my brother. People don't understand. I miss this dude so much. I miss doing this. So let's get it started, man. Let's do this.
Absolutely. We're going to do this.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in.
All right.
Yes, sir. It is definitely time for a change. Information is key. History repeats itself. Knowledge is very important. So check this out.
No people on Earth, there are no humans on Earth except Africans until about 55,000 years ago. All people are Africans. The African begins to cross Africa. He crosses also, he moves to the east and he crosses into Asia. He moves up and into the north and he crosses the Straits of Gibraltar. Either the straits did not exist or it was very narrow at that time. So that Africa was only about 20 miles from Europe. And the Africans crossed over into Europe. There are no Europeans at that point in time, or everyone is black. The reason why that is so is because man was born in hot, humid climates. That is where the human race first appeared. And the black skin was very important because the melanin protected you from the
Brilliant professor, brilliant historian, one of my heroes. I've read so many of his books, and I have so much respect for that man, and that's one of my go-to guys. So go get off into Dr. Van Sertima and those that are into Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. He also has a book called They Came Before Columbus. So David Harper, yes, sir. Welcome back again, my brother. Welcome back again, my brother.
Thanks for having me back. I love that clip because you know what? He's basically saying like life originated. I mean, our people originated in Africa, and in a lot of ways it makes sense because a lot of people don't realize this. If you live in the Northeast, like if you're in New York, Boston, Jersey, up that way, people retire in Florida. People go down to Florida, which is humid. Very human, like what he's talking about. They really try and go back to Africa, don't realize it, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
They go to Florida, there they go. They just need to go across the Atlantic. That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, it's great to be back. Great to be back. Let's do this.
There's so much going on right now, politically speaking, socially speaking, a lot of issues within our own communities that we're going to have a positive outlook and perspective as it pertains to solutions. There's so many things we're going to talk about, but let me give you the bottom line on that snake in the grass. Donald John Trump. If we put President Trump's brain in a bird, it would start flying backwards.
Okay. That's how we're going to start it.
The Trump impeachment hearings in the U.S. Senate has been must-see. It's pretty much been must-see TV. Also, along with the Democratic primary debates, must-see TV. We're also going to discuss the probability of President Trump getting the United States into another war. As we well know, he's not beyond doing anything that's like completely unethical to retain votes and to keep himself in that White House, snake in the grass of President Trump, along with the Democrat debates, et cetera, et cetera. And also, we need to figure out more solutions, David, my brother, with respect to the challenges that we have within our own community. So much to discuss.
Yes.
So much to discuss. So, what do you think? Do you actually think we saw the assassination of the third in command of Iran? Because you have the Ayatollah, then you have the president, then you have the guy that just was killed in a drone airstrike in Iraq, General Soleimani. Do you think that President Trump plans on or will get the United States involved in another war this year before November?
Well, the thing is, at first we got to acknowledge that we've been continuously in war for over a decade, about 17 years. 2003 was when, so 16 and a half years. I think it was it was 17 years. It was early 2003. We were, at war with Operation Iraqi Freedom. I think that's the title of it. The question isn't he going to get us another war? The question is he going to make things worse, even more dire than what they are now? And I think that's what people have to think about. And where this affects black people, melanated people, everybody in general, but this show is called Melanated Politics, so we have to stay on the melanated floor. We got to stick to the title of the show. We love everybody, though.
Yes, sir. For
the way Trump thinks, in his psyche, I wouldn't be surprised, if he implements another draft and basically pulling, maybe not start with people in our community that are already impoverished or not impoverished but lacking, don't have jobs right now for lack of opportunity. But I'm more afraid of them pulling brothers from the prison system and saying, "Hey, this is your ticket to get out of." I'm thinking of some, because he's not a traditional thinking human being. You know what I mean? And he's he's a white supremacist too.
And he blamed Obama for attempting to get the United States into a war with Iran, but that didn't, according to the intelligence agencies and everyone else that was there at the time, Obama never attempted to get us in a war with Iraq. With Iran. Now, Gaddafi, that's a whole different story for a whole different time.
Right. I think, to go back to your question really quick, I think he wants the world to be at war with the Middle East. He wants Israel to get involved. He wants probably Russia to get involved. I think that behind the scenes, I wouldn't be surprised, like, if he just wants chaos, because that's kind of what he is. I mean, he's a chaos dude. He's a guy that, he's not. I don't know what word to say. It's just he's not to say that he wants to bring peace to the Middle East or bring jobs to America and stuff like that. He's not for any of those things. So, to answer your question, I believe he wants to make things worse, but he wants to stay in power. He has a dictator's mind, and dictators.
I agree with that. The one of the sickest parts about him, we talking about President Bone Spurs. We're talking about a draft dodger, right? Because his dad who was arrested in a Klan rally in 1921, Fred, your boy Fred. So he's willing to put other Americans, sons and daughters, in harm's way to possibly retain votes. And so we're definitely paying attention to whether this president, this snake in the grass, Donald Trump, will be getting the United States of America into a war to just as a means to do anything to remain the president of the United States with everything that's going on with the impeachment hearings and with your Joe Bidens and your Senator Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders from Vermont, who's really independent. But February is here.
February is here.
I just want to February is here.
February is here.
They call February but Black History Month.
They do.
I believe in Black History Day. I believe in Black History Second. I believe in Black History Week. History is very important because time repeats itself, as we said initially, as we first got started, and we're going to continue to relate how all this stuff affects the Black community, the Trump administration, whether we should vote or not, what's going on. Most of us think we should. We'll deal with that a little bit later. But as far as February, it's here. You might as well say it's here right now. There's a lot of things that happen in February, in late January, with respect to Black history. And I wanted our audience, once again, just to see what actually happened. David, what actually happened this week in Black history?
All right.
The month of February is not only Black History Month, but it is also American Heart Month. And for that reason, today's Black History Moment is for Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. Dr. Williams was an African-American physician and educator, born in 1856 in Pennsylvania. He is credited with the first successful heart surgery. He graduated with a medical degree in 1883. Dr. Williams practiced medicine in Chicago during a time when there were only 3 Black doctors in the city. Dr. Williams was highly regarded as a skilled surgeon, and his practice grew because he treated people of all races. However, he was keenly aware of the limited opportunities for African American physicians, as well as the inferior treatment of Black patients. When a woman was not allowed to attend a nursing school because she was Black, Dr. Williams founded Providence Hospital and Nursing Training School in 1891. 2 years later, he would perform the heart surgery on a man who had stab wounds to the chest. Dr. Williams performed the successful surgery to repair a tear in the lining of the heart, which saved the man's life. Dr. Williams' practice remained active in Chicago until he suffered a stroke in 1926. Dr. Williams retired to Idlewild, Michigan, where he lived until his death in 1931. My name is Deshauna Yamini, and this has been today's Black History Moment.
There you have it, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams.
Yes, I mean, I think that type of history needs to be implemented in schools constantly, because it's not just Black history, it's American history, it's greatness history. When people say Black History Month, it's Greatness Month. You know what I'm saying? And it should be that type of information, that type of knowledge should be spread year round. It's very important. It's pivotal. It's pivotal to the Black community, but it's pivotal to America, period. And I just, it's one of those things that when people ask me about Black History Month, it's like something that I think we should celebrate, but it shouldn't be just a month. It should be the fabric of America. Because I mean, America, this is the beauty of it. This right here, that's the beauty of it right there. And I just don't think we don't talk about it enough. And you know, I think it just should be taught and talked about, and people should ingratiate themselves with that type of history, with that history.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I didn't learn about this type of stuff when I was brothers like this. You know, when I was growing up, when I went to school in Germany and Belgium, Compton, Roosevelt Junior High, Dominguez High School, even when I traveled abroad with my folks when the U.S. military, even when I traveled abroad, when I was going to school out there, when one of my teachers, her name was Mrs. Nelson, and she was related to George Washington Carver, and that was she catapulted my interest in melanated history, because I was when I lived in Europe, I was pretty much the only black person in my class year after year after year, maybe one or two.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend named Ernest Faison III, and I had another friend named Daryl Ussery. This is elementary school. It was so few of us, I remember their names to this day.
Wow.
But we were taught by Miss Nelson,
Mm-hmm.
who was George Washington Carver's first cousin, and she was our teacher. She was about 75. She was 75, 76.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Along with this brother, this is a particular brother that is instrumental in the pride of black folk, because as you saw in that video, he presented multiple opportunities for nurses, for doctors, having his own business, and it was wonderful, and we honor that brother. Rest in peace.
Absolutely. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. So, what's been going on? I mean, this has been a lot of stuff. What are we going to talk about next? I mean, it's
so much, man.
I mean, where do we start?
I mean, it's the obvious. The impeachment.
Okay.
The impeachment in the U.S. Senate. They impeached this man in the House. We're in the second phase, the U.S. Senate. We already know the shenanigans of Moscow Mitch McConnell.
Moscow Mitch, okay.
Who was against witnesses coming to the trial, because it's basically a trial.
Right.
Coming to present what they heard, what they saw, et cetera, et cetera. So there was pressure put on Mitch to go ahead and let certain rules, so they passed those rules. But we'll see what happens. I was watching yesterday from multiple outlets or whatever. It's the same old Fox News talking points regarding Trump's lawyers' presentations.
Right.
These are the same old points, but I have to give it up to the man himself, Adam Schiff, U.S. House of Representatives from California. Adam Schiff, he's the man.
Right, absolutely.
He put down an outstanding presentation. I couldn't think of a more competent individual that presented pertinent facts that you can't even argue with regarding the phone call with the president of Ukraine.
Right.
With all the demolishing of all the talking points that they just regurgitate over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Like we always say around this time, man, I don't think personally that Donald Trump will be impeached because I think it stops right here in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, the same old, we going to make President Obama one-term president, the same old guy who's, as we spoke earlier, who's may not even win in Kentucky unless the oil companies and the coke industries and all the super PACs and come to his rescue like they did last time when he was going up against Alice in London Grimes.
Right. Very true.
But what do you think? What do you think about this entire spectrum of now that the impeachment has gone to the second phase, which is the Senate trial led by the Republicans who have the majority? Talk to me. I'll talk back, David.
Here's the thing about the whole impeachment, and there's so many different facets to it. I'm going to try to not be long-winded, but get right to the meat of it. Why Donald Trump why the impeachment hearings is happening is off something that's factual in the sense of him strong-arming the president of the Ukraine and basically, bribing him, basically saying, hey, you do this for me, I'll do this for you, that type of thing. But where it gets deeper is because all this is connected to Russia.
Yes.
And again, this show is called Melanated Politics, and this is where where people might be sitting down at home and says, like, really, how does this affect black folks? And this is how it affects black folks. It's long, but it's not really that long a stretch. What I mean by that is President Trump, the way he thinks and his mentality and how he feels about black people and melanated people is not in a positive light. And he has a Republican Senate, predominantly white male of a certain ilk.
Absolutely.
Of a certain ilk that is behind them, that in their states, a lot of them southern states, some are Midwest states, where they believe in voter suppression and muting our voices. So what you have to understand is that this type of power grab It's something that is so dangerous, not just, to the country, but I'm just breaking it down, what it means to melanated people, is that you're getting people who think of a certain ilk, you're giving them more power.
Okay.
And that type of power for people like, I'm a Generation X, you know what I mean? I was born in 74, so I was born with the right to vote. But for folks that weren't born with the right to vote, folks that remember the civil rights movement, and folks who remember their parents and grandparents' stories of how it was coming up in a country that was so unkind to black folks because legally they could be as unkind as they wanted to be.
Yeah.
He is a descendant of that, meaning he being Donald Trump. He wants the country to go back in a particular way. And he's been putting in little steps like a Betsy DeVos or like I can't think of his Secretary of State, the way he feels about black folks in the criminal justice system in the whole 9 yards. I want to say Pompeo. I think that's his name, Mike Pompeo. But long story short, I know I said I wasn't going to be too long-winded. That's where it affects black folks, because if he can get through this, which he probably will, like you said, because the Senate is not going to impeach him, the best they can do is try to pressure some Republicans to get witnesses to make it look bad. Even if it looks bad, they're still not enough votes to impeach him. But at least the public will hear more of what's going on. If this power grab happens, anything can happen. Anything can happen. That's why I said I worry about him saying, hey, why don't we use inmates, people that's been in jail, wrongly convicted, or even if you're doing your time. I could see an argument being made by him saying, why don't we not use citizens?
Yes.
Why don't we use people that have been in jail? Say this is your ticket to freedom, and say, I could see him even correlate that to us fighting in the civil war. Say, hey, black people got, were promised freedom to fight in the Civil War, while we promised their freedom right in this. I can see that's the way he thinks. So that's why this is very important. Everything that's going on right now is very important to black people. It touches us, even though you don't think it does. It does. So that's my thoughts on it. That's my thoughts, at least on the impeachment.
Okay.
Yes. So,
well, let's see what the caller has to say about this. We have a call, but let's go ahead and take the call. See what the caller has to say about this.
Hey, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, thank you for calling in.
I am really happy to see that kid David back with you, Eric. You guys have really good energy together. I like it. I just want to say that first. But
thank you.
I want your opinions on the black participants in the impeachment trial. What do you think of Val Demings, Hakeem Jeffries? What do you think of what they've had to say and how they've been received?
Well, first of all, I think it's beautiful because it's beautiful to see melanated people up there making a claim. I think right now it's a challenging time in history, but it's good to see black folks stepping up to the bat, taking on the challenge like we all challenges as we've always done in history. And I think it's indicative of the uncomfortable change that America is going through, because the thing is that after Barack Obama, particularly the second election, his reelection, that was the fear, and that will help get Trump elected. And that strength that you see from Hakeem Jeffries and the other melanated people of Congress fighting back against this president is what you're going to see what's going to take him down out of office, because it's going to be majority black women, of course, brothers too, to step up in this election to take him down and fight against him. So what you're seeing is a preview of what's going to happen to him from black women and black men. And that's why I think that image, so people won't be surprised. People won't be surprised.
Well, the Congressional Black Caucus have been down to impeach that snake in the grass Donald Trump since
Day one.
basically since he has committed crimes to be impeached.
Yeah.
Or has carried himself in a manner that is not indicative of how a president should carry himself as a representative of the U.S. government as well as the United States citizen. So a lot of black folks in the House, in the Senate, have been down to impeach Donald Trump for a while now, since he has deserved it. Nevertheless, there's a woman called Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, that has just got on board. And now that she's on board, and now that everything has been going, moving forward, the train has left the station. There's no turning back. Adam Schiff has made a great case.
Yes, he has.
During the Senate hearing. So that's how we feel.
Well, that's my. I mean, I know that Adam Schiff was, his what he had to say was fantastic, but very specifically what Hakeem Jeffries had to say.
I love what he had to say. I love what he had to say.
And the selection of Val Demings because of her law enforcement background.
Yes.
How do you think those two melanated politicians will be treated and perceived after the hearing, regardless of the result?
I think they're going to be received. To answer your question, depends on who you ask. I think to a certain ilk of voter and a certain ilk of American citizen, they're going to be viewed as haters of the president, haters of race baiters, and even though they didn't use race in it, but because of their melanated skin, they're going to, because CNN put out a poll, that, and this is, I generally don't get in polls, but I believe this poll. I don't want to cherry pick, but I just haven't met personally in too many black folks that like President Trump. That just, I've heard more outward anger and frustration towards him. So when CNN put up a poll saying 82% of black folks don't like Trump, that visual of Hakeem, and I'm sorry, I always forget the sister's name.
Val Demings.
Yep. Hakeem and Val. And Val's been, and real quick, Val was on point during the Ukraine hearings.
Yes.
Before the impeachment, she's been on fire since the Ukraine hearings when they brought in the ambassador to the Ukraine and different people. She's been on fire. But I think I think they're going to strike fear and anger to folks, and I do feel for Democrats and for just melanated people, period. I think if you look at them, you can't be nothing but proud and be like, yes, that's what we need.
And just in closing, all of us melanated people that are really into the political realm and what's going on in Washington, D.C. will always be and will continue to be proud of these two melanated individuals. And we stand behind them, we're proud of them, and hopefully they will continue to be the voice of their constituents as it relates to this snake in the grass, Donald Trump. And
can I say one other thing? I know we're using the word melanated a lot, but we have to, and some people might quote unquote say that's identity politics. You gotta understand something. You gotta understand we have to identify who we are, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people like to bunch us in and not really address the deepness of our presence. So that's why we are identifying melanated people. I digress.
And as Hakeem said, if you don't know, now you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
Rest in peace, Biggie.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for allowing us to continue to spotlight these melanated politicians that are stepping up to the plate and doing what they need to do and what they were put in office to do.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
I agree. I like the question what the caller was asking. Val is. There's so many incredible congressmen and women in the question of Black Caucus that's really been on point. And going back to your point as far as like their mission to impeach Trump started, I think from jump, because he had Russian help interference.
Also, the biggest argument that the GOP, the grand old party, or the biggest argument they're making right now is they've always wanted to impeach President Trump since day one. Because you know me, I watch hours and hours of Fox News all the time for years, and right now they continue to regurgitate the same nonsense points. They've been attempting to impeach President since day one because they're bitter about his loss to your girl Hillary.
Yeah.
But this is not true. Obviously, this is not true. I don't want to use the word respect, but I can never say enough. If black folk, if we just stuck together like we used to, like a lot of us are doing now, if we can just stick together, generally speaking, the way these Republicans stick with Donald Trump,
that's such a hard.
We have another Rosewood right here in Los Angeles, like we do over here at Leimert already.
Right.
In Leimert Park already.
Right. I think that's a very...
Or another Black Wall Street, another Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. I think it's challenging, but I would love to see it. Absolutely.
Or Black Silicon Valley right here.
Yep.
It's all about the loyalty, especially when it relates to politics. Now, I've said a lot. You've said a lot. We put a lot of facts out there. You know what I would love? You know who I would actually love to hear from, who his opinion on all this stuff, the man himself. Let's check out what Donald Trump has to say about all of this, that snake in the grass.
I make great deals for our country, and they're honest deals. And when you read that transcription, and by the way, it wasn't one call, it was two calls. Nobody likes to talk about that. There was one call which was perfect, and then there was a second call, I guess a couple of months later, which was perfect. The president of Ukraine said it was perfect. The foreign minister of Ukraine said it was perfect. So if we have a transcription, we have the call, and we have the person on the other side of the call saying it was good. Now, here's the other thing. They got their money long before schedule. They got all their money. What nobody says is very important to me. Why isn't Germany paying? Why isn't UK paying? Why isn't France paying? Why aren't the European nations paying? Why is it always the sucker, United States? That's one. And the other thing I wanted to check very carefully, and is very important, is corruption. And we do that too. This was a perfect call, and I think we're doing very well. The World Trade Organization's been...
Now, I said it, and I will say it again. If you put President Trump's brain in a bird, it will start flying backwards.
See, I can't even talk after watching that. Let me be serious for a second. Probably the biggest issue I have with this whole impeachment drama mess TV show is that kind of the way it's been covered.
Yes.
And that goes for all the networks. It goes for MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, of course. Even some YouTube stations, which I won't get into, and where they cover it. This is the fact. Donald Trump got help from Russia to help squeak out an election that was decided between 3 states, and not even the total number of people that decided this election was like 300,000, I think it was, across three different states. True. So that margin is so small.
That's true, but at the same time, we live in a country where the culture is, it doesn't matter who's telling the truth, bro. It only matters who you like.
Very true.
And in this particular situation, these people they love Donald Trump. He is the Messiah. He is the resurrection of General Custer.
True.
Donald Trump is not going anywhere. Okay? He will not be impeached.
He won't be impeached.
This man, as we said, this man will start a war with another country, in my opinion, before he is impeached. That's why he's all over Joe Biden. That's why he was all over Hunter Biden. Now, all of a sudden, he cares about corruption in Ukraine. Why don't you start in the White House with all of these people that either resigned or were fired? This man has turned the with the little so-called integrity they said the White House had into just like a sideshow.
Yeah.
And it just also goes to show all of us the lengths that these individuals will go through to maintain their power. Start a war, lie. Hello, may I please speak with the may I please speak with the president of Ukraine? This is a snake in the grass, Trump. Check this out, man. I need you to hold a press conference, and you need to say that Joe Biden was in the Ukraine engaging in illegal activities along with his son, Hunter. If you don't do that, you don't get the aid that we have been sending you prior to that. Hold a press conference or it's not going down. Those are the charges. It's on tape. You can hear it. You can see it. The evidence is there. But the Republicans, Lindsey Graham and a lot of these clowns, they continue to remain loyal to Donald Trump. I won't use the word respect, but I kind of respect how they're down with each other. I don't agree with their stance, their policies. I don't agree with the air that they breathe, but I have to respect the loyalty that they have towards each other to maintain their power, something that we need to do yesterday.
True. I mean, I can't say any more to that because it's a combination of them not just being loyal to Trump, they're being loyal to the movement. The movement. And you have to understand, and I keep going back.
It's bigger than Trump.
It's bigger than Trump. But you got to understand when
he's Jesus to these people.
When
Captain America, Incredible Hulk, Wild E. Coyote.
No, I don't think they even
Superman.
I don't think Superman even got.
He's the Ninja Turtles, man.
He's not.
I'll tell you what, I don't mean to cut you up, brother. What's that dude? This dude is like Mum-Ra, the ever-living.
Trump is. I say Trump has a Thanos. But Thanos is smarter.
He-Man. Remember He-Man?
Yeah, I do remember. No, Mum-Ra. I do remember Mum-Ra. And actually, Mum-Ra was from Thundercats. Skeletor was from He-Man.
Oh, Skeletor. Okay.
Skeletor. But I know where you're going from. I know you're going. I know the Mum-Ra was Thundercats. Okay, that's a whole other conversation. But what I was going to say is that they're loyal to a movement, and the movement is to keep in power because America has changed. It's not changing, and so we have to really. Really call that out, yes. But understand how serious it is. There's so many people. The media is not talking about the seriousness. They're talking about the impeachment, but they're not talking about like his whole connection to why the connection Ukraine. Ukraine is under the thumb of Russia and trying to get off the thumb of Russia. Why Russia wanted him to be in office in the first place because one, he can affect being in America's the most powerful country in the world. He can affect their influence.
But that just shows you how gangster the United States is. Instead of having a direct military boots on the ground conflict with Russia, what they do is since Russia basically took off on the Ukraine and they're over there now, the United States has and continue to this day provided military aid to Ukraine.
Right.
Okay. Donald Trump said, okay, I might not win this election. I need these people to get come up, get some fairy dust and come up with some dirt on my political opponent.
Yeah. Which
had no ground and no basis for anything like that. So,
but here's the thing that's deep. That's where Russia's so gangster. You know what I mean? Russia is gangster because they know one of the biggest dividers of the country is not. I know people want to say economics and the upper echelon of the wealthy, but our biggest divider is race. Okay. And Donald Trump is a great microphone for that. But go ahead, we got to keep going. So we can talk about him. We can't give him that much energy.
Yeah, Russia that's a big dog on a big block. I mean, after this situation, I just have to just very quick. They're having 420 sessions with the Iranian government. Mm-hmm. They sipping on Miller with Syria.
Right.
Okay. They're involved in a lot of conflicts that the United States are involved in, they're just on the other side. So that all relates to Ukraine. Now, the Democrats.
The Democrats.
The Democrats. Which a lot of black folk obviously vote for the Democrats now after
voting rights, civil rights Act.
After the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts when was switched over. But anyway,
after it really started when Kennedy called MLK in jail. That's when we first started. That's when we first started really thinking about it. But go ahead.
But one of my main takeaways from watching the Democratic primary debates was, bottom line, the former Vice President of the United States, Barack Obama's boy, he's going to be the next president of the United States, okay? As we stated prior, a while back, my brother, we have the middle-of-the-road moderate Democrats, basically versus the so-called far-left Democrats. Your your Senator Elizabeth Warrens, your Bernie Sanders. Okay, Joe is his policies. He's against the Green New Deal. He's against Medicaid. He's against health care for all, like they do in most other industrialized nations. So that's the big battle. Joe Biden is the safe bet for the Democrats. Democrats are not as extreme as the Republicans. And you and I both know that because David and I met doing political work for political campaigns for a lot of this stuff that we talk about. But the Democrats, hopefully the Democrats, if they plan on winning, they can get a backbone. The debates were impressive. I must say that. But my takeaway was Joe Biden will represent the Democratic Party in November. And the biggest question is, will he be able to defeat your boy, Megan McGrath?
Trump.
Let
me say this, first of all.
What did you take away from it?
I don't think let me just get this out. I don't think there's any candidates on that stage right now that black people are excited about. Black people right now, melanated people right now are looking so objectively on who can win in the sense of who can win, who can beat them. I don't think there's anybody that really makes us jump up and down. I think Joe Biden has credibility in a sense not because he's a good candidate. It's because he's had Barack's back through this whole process. And as black people, as melanated people, we know, even though if we don't agree with everything Barack Obama did, we understood he had his back. But going to Bernie and Liz, I'm gonna be real quick with this. Bernie Sanders has a really strong, very good message on economic populism. And he has very good surrogates, Philip Agnew, Nina Turner, Killer Mike, some really good Cornel West, some really good surrogates to talk to the black community, different variations of the black community. But where Bernie falls short and where black folks, particularly black folks 35 and older, have to decide, Bernie, you sort of...
He wasn't initially with reparations, man.
Beyond the reparations point, just recently, we can go back to reparations. But
you
recently,
can love me now, but if you didn't used to love me,
right? He's a Rage Against the Machine candidate, but This is where again it affects melanated people. In the New York Times interview, he said that because New York Times just endorsed two people, Klobuchar and Liz Warren. His thinking, as well as Andrew Yang, because I have to put Andrew Yang in here too, as well as many progressives think this, that the economic strife, the economic challenges to the folks that voted for Trump is the reason why they looked away a good portion of them. The reason why they, pushed away his racism, his sexism, all his isms is because of their economic struggle. Which part of that is a good point. When people are under financial distress, they make dumb decisions. That's true. But racism is not a dumb decision. If you're cool with voting for a racist, then and someone who is obviously racist and obviously sexist, then there's a certain comfortability there that you have to reconcile with the voters that don't feel that way. And what I'm trying to say is for progressives and other people that get on the middle of the road candidates like Joe Biden, like if Joe Biden does a dinner with somebody He has a dinner with a millionaire, one of the Jeff Bezos. Let's say Joe Biden has a dinner with Jeff Bezos of Amazon, one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, he's in the pockets of the rich and wealthy.
Senator Warren, she claims she doesn't take any like big major corporation type donations. She claims that all her contributions derive from small donations. But anyway, let's check out the Democrats and the Democratic primary debates, the most recent one.
Joe and I have a fundamental disagreement here, in case you haven't noticed.
The candidates did, however, tackle the elephant in the room. Reports Senator Bernie Sanders had told Elizabeth Warren in 2018 that a woman couldn't win the election.
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it.
The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women.
In the midst of looming tensions between the United States and Iran, the candidates spending an extensive amount of time on foreign policy.
We can continue to remain engaged without having an endless commitment of ground troops.
When it comes to Iraq right now, I would leave our troops there, despite the mess that has been created by Donald Trump.
Senator Bernie Sanders comparing his record on the ongoing Iraq war to that of Vice President Biden.
I did everything I could to prevent that war. Joe saw it differently.
I was asked to bring 156,000 troops home from that war, which I did.
And as in previous debates, a major point of division was health care and how much government intervention is enough or too much.
We got to move past a Washington mentality that suggests that the bigness of plans only consists of how many trillions of dollars they put through the Treasury.
The numbers that the mayor's offering just don't add up. The average family in America last year paid $12,000 in some combination of deductibles and co-pays and uncovered expenses and fees. You can't cover that with the kind of money that the mayor is talking about.
The Iowa caucus is now less than 3 weeks away.
There you have it.
It's going to be a tight race. Don't know who's going to win Iowa. To me, Liz is probably the smartest one as far as like economics.
Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren is probably the smartest one as far as economics and knowing how to balance everything.
Former Harvard professor.
She's definitely hands down. Joe Biden, of course, is the one that's for melanated people. It's a mixed bag because we know the devil. That's the devil, you know. Bernie is a wild card because for all his revolution talk, he still doesn't understand the dynamics of racism and how that played into the election. He is very him and Andrew Yang both are that way. And as far as Klobuchar is probably the center. She won't. I don't think she'll F it up. I think she makes small steps to make things better.
Yeah.
And the rest of them don't matter.
There are a lot of people that are watching this show right now from all over that feel like no one we just observed right now would do anything for black folk in the black community. It's just a continuation of the same old promises to get black folks, because you cannot be a Democrat and win the Democrat. You cannot be the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States and represent the Democratic Party without black folk. Those are facts.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
And a lot of times, and I understand, putting myself in everyone else's shoes, what has changed, politically speaking, with respect to the laws that they have enacted? What has changed the lifestyle and the success and the passing down of wealth for black folks in the black community by any of these Democrats who I don't trust? And I just have to be, I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't like that crime bill. Whether you agree with Senator Kamala Harris's policies or not, she would have wiped the floor with Donald John Trump in any debate. I will give her that. Whether you agree with Kamala or not, a debate with Donald Trump, she would do any better than everyone we just saw.
Absolutely.
Whether you agree with her policies or
Absolutely,
not.
she would.
But I do believe that Joe, the former vice president, under President Obama, will be the eventual nominee for the Democratic Party. Let's pay attention. Let's continue to see what happens with that.
Oh, we gotta pay attention.
We got to pay attention, and we're going to pay attention to this phone call. So we're going to take a call right now. Thank you for calling in. Tell us how you really feel. We don't have a lot of time. Tell us how you really feel. Thank you for calling.
Good morning.
In.
Good morning, Eric and David. How you doing?
Good morning. Is that Kev?
Yes. How's it going, gentlemen?
Going good.
All is well.
Going good now. How's it going?
Good.
Thank you so much for calling in, sir. Thank you.
I was listening to the topics at hand. And first of all, yes, Donald Trump will start a war because he's banking on the probability that a president during a wartime won't get booted from office. So
Agreed.
that's like his last stand, and that's his far-reaching tactic.
Great point.
He is a
Great
man
point.
of tactics. And in terms of anything he says, he's a specialist in non-committal rhetoric. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. And I think the only difference between this impeachment and the Russian investigation is that this is more tangible. You have witnesses, you have documentation. You know, a lot of the Russian thing, even though it was probably true, it just wasn't as easy to be substantiated.
Yes, sir. I agree. I agree 100%.
Worst case scenario, all you have now is just because the Republicans in the Senate are not going to remove him. So a censure is probably the most damage you could do to him, and in the hope that that'll really ruin his electability chances or lower them more.
Well, their whole thought pattern and their express words are, why can't we just wait until the election? The election is right around is right here in November. Why can't we just wait?
Right.
Yeah, well, I think his loyalists will be there anyway, but maybe this will wake the rest of the country up and maybe bring even black folks out.
Man, that sound like frying some chicken in some transmission fluid instead of vegetable oil. You don't knock it off.
I'm not gonna go that far as saying fried chicken and transmission fluid
instead of vegetable oil.
Yeah, but I think for the most part that's the thing with the election and the war. And I think Biden is also the best candidate. He's probably known to follow President Obama's modus operandi, where the economy was still growing, healthcare was being addressed, and he could be the one to really get the country back on track without all of these new outlying ideas that haven't been tested, don't have any credibility.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And just kind of based on hope and chance. So with that said, I think Biden is the candidate. And as far as his VP, Kamala Harris VP would really strengthen him amongst the black electorate.
What?
I think between his affiliation with President Obama and having her as a black lady vice presidential candidate will really do good. Now, nationwide, I don't know how that would probably work out, but I know that would be the most effective way to rally the black electorate.
Well, I don't mean to be rude like my ex and cut you off, but I wanted to see if David had a.
No, I was going to ask Kevin.
Before we let you go, because we have to wrap it up. But before we let you go, like a bad relationship, I want to see if David had a question.
What about Stacey Abrams? By any chance, do you think he would possibly pick her?
Yes, that's a possibility, and I think the thing at this point that she didn't compete in the debate to that full extent.
Right.
So it's going to take more to make her more reached and understood and interfacing with the American public.
Right.
But if they can do that, I think, she would be even more of a rap than Kamala Harris because of her policy knowledge.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for calling in, Professor Kevin Harris.
All right. You brothers have a good day, man.
You too. You too. Thanks for calling.
Have a good weekend, brother.
Enjoyed that call. Thanks, Kevin.
Yes, sir. We need to deal with a few solutions before we go.
Absolutely.
I don't like the word problems. I like to replace that with the word challenges. I believe that we do have challenges within our own community. And as I stated prior, before you get a landscaping license and go in other people's yard, we need to clean up our own backyard first. And in a positive way, with connecting with each other, with unification with each other, with being nice and kind, just the basics, cheering for each other, rooting for each other, having each other's backs. Absolutely. It's not a show on Morris Media I don't watch every time I see it, because that's what it's all about. It's about lifting each other up. I think it's important too, my brother, that socially speaking, individually speaking, and even from our own family perspective, because sometimes you have to diagnose the root of the problem as opposed to the symptoms where you just put a Band-Aid on it and it just reoccurs and reoccurs. And I believe that, myself, me, my brothers, my sisters, my families, all of us melanated people, if there's ever a cause for forgiveness, I think we need to get over a lot of things that we've been through with each other and forgive each other. We forgive everybody else.
True.
We need to forgive each other.
True.
Even if it's to the extent to where we have forgiveness moments, a forgiveness day, or whatever, families, everyone who's out in the streets, all the gang. I mean, this is over, man. I mean, it's 2020. It's time for black folks, for us to return to our original state of existence where we had all of the power. Black folks, melanated people, ran the globe for hundreds of thousands of years, as you saw with Dr. Alvin Van Sturdam, but just as important, even more importantly than that, because if you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. It's just 2 + 2 is 4. It's just 1 + 1 is 2. But just as important, my dear brother David Harper, good to have you back again. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We need to continue to invest in black businesses. All my brothers and sisters, man. I mean, most of us has worked for someone else. Some of the people we work for look like us. Some of us did not. But you know what? There's no one we're working for that's smarter than us. A lot of times we just look at being a consumer and being a producer differently. So we need to continue to support black businesses, spend money with black businesses, continue to create more black businesses. We need a complete influx of more black-owned businesses. And what we talked about before the show, you know what I'm saying, which is, another good conversation, what are like the actual top 5 black businesses right now in the United States? Let's look at that. Yes, sir.
I love
top five black businesses in America right now. And in closing, I want to take this time to dedicate this show to my homegirl, one of my mentors, Sheena Lester. Thank you, Sheena. The show is dedicated to you. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for believing in this brother. Thank you for believing in myself. There's no such thing as melanated politics if we didn't meet Sheena Lester. So shout out to you, my dear sister.
And I want to give a personal shout out to the poetess, to both Sheena and the poetess. Got so much love for you, sisters. This is part of like the support and unity that we talk about. We're all in it together. We're all in it together. We couldn't be up there if it wasn't for 2 strong, beautiful sisters behind us, beautiful in spirit, beautiful just all around, that had our backs and given us a chance. So I want to thank the poetess. I want to thank Sheena, and I want to thank everybody that watches this show. Thank you so much.
Especially all of those that have been tuning in to Melanated Politics since day one. Politics is defined as war without bloodshed, and the essence of color is melanin. From Prince George's County, Maryland.
Yes, David Harper.
And from the one and only city of Compton, I'm Mr. Clark, Eric Clark. Thanks again. Peace. We're out.